Hey there, welcome to Sullivan Smart Sense. I'm Heather Sullivan. Thanks so much for spending a little bit of time with us today. We're going to continue to help you get prepared for hurricane season. We're getting closer and closer to that time of year when the hurricanes start revving up. And so we want to really make sure that everyone in the area is well prepared. And also because energy is such a critical issue here in Texas. Our summer this year is particularly hot. Everybody's revving up their AC. And so we want to talk about using generators when you're losing power and ways to kind of keep your life going as much as possible in those situations. So we have an expert today joining us from Generac. This is Randy Sadlin. So thanks so much for being with us, Randy.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about what you do with Generac.
So I'm the Senior Vice President of Global Product Management and Industrial Design for Generac Power Systems.
Great. Well, welcome. Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
spending some time with us. First, let's just talk about, we always want to kind of remind people to take steps to be prepared for a disaster. So first, what are some steps people can be taking now while things are nice and calm to get ready in case we are going to be approached by a hurricane?
Yeah, I think the first thing, and you just said it, was how do you prepare now? Do it before the hurricane, season actually gets into full speed. So a few things that we tell people to consider is first around food and water. You need about a 7-day supply of non-perishable food. That's per person, plus any kind of necessary, if there's cookware or dishes or other things. Water supply, you need about 3 gallons of water per person per day for drinking. That is, from a sanitation standpoint. So you need about a 5-day supply of that. You should also consider essential items like for your babies, for your pets, formula, pet food, things like that. So like core one is food and water, most important. First aid kits, also very important. So traditional what you'd have in a first aid kit for just extra, and then extra prescription medicine. Make sure you have your prescriptions filled in advance. Kind of some other essentials. Flashlights, extra batteries, AM, FM, radios with batteries, full tank of gas in your car, maps, things like that. Something we're not used to using a lot anymore. That's not digital. And that's kind of understanding if there's, exit routes, things like that. Disinfectant wipes. We're pretty familiar with that nowadays. Toiletries, toilet paper, and then thinking about just backup power. Which is, something we'll discuss more of. So, if you actually are going to, stay, like, what are your backup power, your options, and there could be anything from portable gens to home standbys. But those first things around essentials, first aid, food and water, absolutely critical. And you should do it now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want it because I know that list seems kind of overwhelming. And especially right now, budgets are so tight. So people might be like, oh, I can't go buy all that stuff. What I even do is I just, I keep that list, but I think about, well, what can I buy this week and what can I buy next week? And that way you're just kind of adding to it, making sure you have it gradually without, killing your budget as you're going through that. But yeah, it's a pretty comprehensive list. Well, let's talk about backup power. So first, let's just talk a little bit about some of the options that people can look at. I know that we'll talk about the smaller options and we'll talk about the bigger options. And I know people went crazy for adding the really big home generators after we had the big power outage in 2021. So we'll talk about that too. But let's first just kind of talk about the scope of what's out there.
Okay, great. There's several options, and we'll talk about, there's the home standby generator. So that's a product that's permanently installed and directly wired into your home. And there's a lot of benefits to that. And I'll talk about that in a later. The next one down from that would be portable generators, something that could be manually attached or something you'd be running extension cords to. And then something relatively new, I know for Generac, we just launched some products last year, is around portable power stations. So these are smaller battery products. So these could be used inside the home. They could be used inside apartments. People who can't use a gas powered product, these are excellent to bring into the home. So each one of those products, there's, a lot of things I can talk about in terms of descriptions and so forth.
Well, I hadn't heard of that one you were just talking about. So tell us more about that. what's involved, maybe the
Okay.
cost range, and where we can find them.
Perfect. Yeah. So they're portable power. So they're a lithium ion battery pack. They're super quiet, very clean, emissions free. So like a portable gen, you have to put outside. Not might you have to put them outside. Like a battery pack, you could put it in your kitchen. So there are different ranges. So we actually have two: a GB 1000 and 2000. So 1000 watt hour and a 2000 watt hour product. They're great for backing up. For shorter outages. Could be your refrigerator, people who have CPAP machines, could be your Wi-Fi, things like that. They actually have, places to charge your phone or other electronics. They have a small little light on them. They originally were great for like camping, tailgating. So you see a lot of people use it, purchase these for that kind of use, but then have them just in case there's an outage. Like we're getting, with the hurricane season. So the thing with those they're shorter in terms of uses. So like once the battery's drained, then you have to recharge it. So you have to find a power source. Could be your car. So there's a car charger. We actually do sell small foldable solar panels that can be plugged in and charge them that way. And there's different durations of time depending on how much of the battery you've consumed. So they're great products for that. We sell them. You can go to Generac.com on our website. So $9.99 is the smaller one, and then $17.99 is the larger one that we offer today. So we started shipping those last year. So great products.
Yeah, I think we'll have to dive into that, do a story, and take a look at an option like that because I think that's really interesting. Um, when you talk about fewer things that can run on it, because I know, like, if we have a gas powered one, you need to sort of choose your critical things.
Yes.
How does the sort of number of choices compare to something like that?
So it'd be less. You wouldn't be running like the smaller batteries. You're not running off like an air conditioning unit. You're not running, a stove. So smaller electronics, like maybe a microwave, a coffee maker, and you kind of like pick and choose. What's really the most important in
Yeah.
terms of that. And you mentioned like with a gas powered, you're still making, especially for a gas powered portable, you're still making those choices of what do you really need to power in terms of an outage? How long do you need to run it? Before, because you got to fill it up every 6 to 12 hours on a gas powered product. So it depends on the loads you want to back up then.
Okay. And I want to invite our viewers, by the way, we're live today. So if you have questions about, home power generation during a storm, backup power, just write those questions below, and we'll get them answered for you. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the portable gas powered, because I also want to talk about making sure that folks are using them safely. We always end up having to report on people getting sick or even dying from
Yes.
people not remembering how to use those properly. So let's talk about that.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Number one, generators they have to be used outdoors. So they like any kind of, like, some people think because, well, I put it on a screened in porch or I put it in my garage. You absolutely cannot put these products in an enclosed area where that exhaust can come into the home. It's a poisonous gas, extremely deadly. You can't see it, you can't smell it. So it's absolutely critical that you put these, when you're using the portable ones, away from the home. Some of them, most of the generators now come with a CO sense, so it actually has a device on it that will actually shut down when the CO around the unit reaches a certain level. It will automatically power it off as a safety measure. But yeah, you do have people, putting them in areas because they want to protect the generator, or keep it, outside, or control some noise. So they're putting them in their garages. Absolutely cannot put it in a garage, a basement. Even some of the ones they look, compact and look simple, are like small inverters. So people are like, oh, it looks kind of small. It's not very loud, and we've seen people, like, we'll bring it inside. So you absolutely cannot do that. Another rule is don't put it next to windows, doors, vents, crawl spaces, things like that, where the CO can actually then enter the house and then get into a bedroom or something like that. Another thing to think about is always using a battery operated carbon monoxide alarm, indoors, close to like where that product is outdoors, just as another safety measure, and install those according to manufacturer's instructions, of course. Another thing around safety is just, keeping children away from the portable generator. It's a gas powered product. It's creating electricity. So you want to keep your children away from that as well. And then just make sure like the area around it just is clean from debris. Could be branches and other things, just to allow proper ventilation of the generator. I mean, this is a running engine, and you just want to kind of keep things, far away from it as you possibly can.
I know that the demand for the portable generators goes way up, of course, during hurricane season. And of course, I was talking about in 2021, they were hard to come by because people wanted to have them after living through that horrific power outage for days in the freezing cold. So what's the supply look like, this summer if people are wanting to get one before a storm?
The supply is good. All your major retailers, big box retailers, your small, like farm and ranch type places all, have a plenty of supply right now. We make sure of that going into hurricane season, that the products are there for our customers. So, and if you prefer .coms and shopping on e-commerce, then there's, options there as well.
Okay. And what is the price range generally on a portable model?
I would say they're range. So you can get really small ones. So again, it goes back to, as you're preparing, what do you really need to back up as a user? So some people number one, like we found out, people really want to back up their refrigerator. They've spent money on, food in there, or it could be a freezer, and if power goes out, you lose all that. So like, that's definitely, very important. People like to back up their, Wi-Fi or medical equipment. There's small ones, which are running, around, $500-$600. We have a GP6500, which is a product we actually call like a storm SKU, which is really, backs up a lot of the products you need. You can run, like a window AC unit. You could back up coffee, use coffee makers. You can pick and choose what you actually plug into it. Those range anywhere between like $800 to $1,000. And then we have really much larger units that can, provide a lot of power for, multiple things in your home, like water pumps and larger, loads. And those can go up, north of $2,000. So it's a range of, I think, the right product for anything. If you go to like Generac.com, you can start to see a sizer to say, okay, hey, these are the types of things that I want to back up if I need to, and they'll give you the right product to fulfill your need.
Okay. Well, let's talk now about the big sort of permanently installed home generators. And I'm going to show some video while we talk about this. So, I know people, they dream of these.
Yes.
It's built in. So talk to me a little bit about how all of this works.
Yeah. So our home standby generator, so that is a permanently installed product that's wired directly into your home. So that it will basically automatically provide the whole, like you can pick your whole home or portions of your home will be backed up with power in case the power goes out, and it automatically happens. So the storm comes in, the utility, there's lost power within the utility, within the grid. Within a few seconds, our transfer switch will trip over and then start providing the power to the home. So you have like a few second delay, and all of a sudden all your lights are coming on. If you have a full home backup one, depending on the size of your home, you bought one that backs up you can run your air conditioning, you can run your laundry, your kitchen products, your water pumps, anything. So it's that kind of, why I look at it's peace of mind, so you're guaranteed that to kind of continue on with all your kind of comforts and amenities that you're used to. Those units, are professionally installed, and they use two different kind of fuel sources. So it could use natural gas, if you have natural gas at your house, or liquid propane. So some homes have LP or liquid propane. So maybe an additional tank, liquid propane tank might be needed in the installation, or the current one would be sufficient for your needs. So those are the two kind of fuel sources. So on an install, that you would have an installer, dealer, contact, could be a retailer that sells these products. They would basically come out and survey and give you, an estimate in terms of, where this would need to be installed, work with you in terms of what you want to actually back up, and then kind of put a plan together that, fits your budget and your what you actually can, afford to spend.
Yeah, we'll talk about the cost range in a moment, but how long do they typically power the home for, or power the things that you've put on it?
So on a natural gas one that's permanently installed, continuous. That's the best thing about them. You have natural gas kind of flowing to your house today, as long as it flips over and that natural gas powers that generator. So, on long outages, you need to do some scheduled maintenance, and there could be oil changes depending on the length of outage. But a normal outage, you would just have that thing would run the entire time.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And let's go ahead and talk about the cost range, because it's an investment for folks, but
Yes.
it just provides that long-term peace of mind.
Yeah, so we have a small one we call our Power Pack. It's a 7.5 kilowatt unit. For the unit and the transfer switch, which you need to actually install, that's around $2,000. And then you have on top of that the installation, and that's going to vary. That's going to vary depending on the installer you use in your area, where they have to place it. In terms of next to your home, or where your gas line is, where your utility box is, or all that kind of determines the installation cost. So that's on the low end. On the upper end, on our our Guardian series home standby air cooled units, it ranges. It's a 2600 kilowatt unit, and that gets up to around $7,200,
Okay.
and then plus installation on top of that.
Yeah.
But there's financing options and different things too.
Yeah. And then how long does it take, kind of from start to finish, to choose and order and have it installed and all of that?
It's a great question. So looked into this right before the call too, was to just see kind of what our current kind of installation time period is right now in the kind of the Houston area. So we're looking at about 4 to 6 weeks. A lot of that time is due to just permitting. So you have permitting because you're dealing with both gas and electrical. And then anything in terms of like your HOAs or your homeowner associations, things like that might need to get involved. So around 4 to 6 weeks, could be a little bit longer, depending on the dealer or the installer you're working with. But that's a good estimate right now.
And let me ask you again, just on the availability of those larger models, because like I said, I did a story in 2021 about there was like a 6 to 9 month waiting list because everyone was buying them up. But so how are things looking now?
They look good. If you have people that are viewing this right now, there's availability in the field right now. So reach out, contact. You actually can go to our website too. There's good links there on sizing the generator or getting a free estimate, and then we do a lot of that work to make sure that as you enter into and fill out some information, we'll get that to the right dealer, and start the process for you.
Yeah, you mentioned your website, and I was going to ask, what are some good places people can turn to start exploring their options, whether they want to do a portable generator or an installed, like what are some resources people can turn to?
I actually think, if a manufacturer's website like Generac.com is a great place where you could view all three. I talked about batteries, I've talked about portables, I've talked about home standby backup. You can enter our site, and there's a home section, and you can start to then view pricing, kind of the feature sets, and really what will actually help you. Could be your local retailer that you normally go to. A lot of those retailers will sell all three of these products, either online or in stores. There's a lot of good content and information there, as well as, of course, like just a normal Google search. But manufacturer websites, we've done a lot with our website to make sure that it's a great source of information for our customers, as well as a good way to start the purchase process. Even on like the portables and stuff like that, we'll show you where to buy in your area. So we've made the process as simple as possible.
And going back to just being prepared for a hurricane, while we've got that window of time now, what's your advice to folks to kind of beforehand, things to be checking to make sure that your generator is prepared and working well, or other things you can do at home to make sure that you're as safe as you can be?
Yeah. Yeah. We have a checklist of about 10 things that we say to do before the storm. One starts with like the refrigerator freezer. So if the power goes off, that temperature will slowly decline. So put it on the coldest setting if you know a storm. So it's ramped up. You'll also want to minimize the number of times you open and close that door. This goes back to water. We talked about before, like that emergency preparation, that kit, but also they recommend like filling a bathtub with water or large containers of water, just based on a sanitation purpose for you to wash up and clean up. If you're putting those in like a large container, that can be drinking water. So again, that's actually important. If you have like propane tanks for like grills or different things, like the smaller ones, turn those off, properly store them, like turn the knob at the top. They also recommend like unplugging small appliances in rooms you don't plan on using during the storm. Make sure your cell phones are charged. Check your yard for, and landscaping, just for any trees that should be trimmed back, or, gutters cleared, just kind of preparing the whole thing. Think about wind, like the pickup for wind, like things that might blow around, secure all of that. Things you don't even think about, filling your gas cans, from your car, or if you have, if you're using a portable generator, make sure you have enough gas. So we know when there's outages, and if you're using a portable generator, you've seen those pictures of people just waiting in lines, for gas. So, if you have some extra ones and you can fill those up, that would be great. Of course, depending on the area, like hurricane shutters and board up windows, of course, is another thing, and reinforcing, your garage door with like door bracing kits. So that's kind of like before the storm, like, it's coming, and these are kind of that checklist of that. Then we also say okay, now during the storm, so you have like two, you're either going to evacuate or you're going to shelter in place, so if you're going to evacuate, listen to the orders, listen to them twice, understand, I talked about the maps earlier, but, determine the driving directions of like how, what you're going to do, and then secure your home. So one thing, that a lot of people don't think about is just really like unplug your appliances, your refrigerators, all that. So, turn off the water supply, so if there's some kind of damage, turn it off at the main valve, deactivating electricity at the breaker box. So a lot of this just, would actually help in terms of surging and hurting your electronics, especially we have a lot of high-end electronics now, TV, smart TV, all this, so you want to kind of protect that. And then like, if you decide to shelter in place, just kind of find the safest room in your house. Again, save your cell phone for kind of the emergencies and things like that. Don't, you can use, IM or different things like to communicate and let people know things are okay for you. But again, reduce, and unplug as many things as possible just to reduce the risk of any kind of surge related damage. And then just, I talked about the kit before and the radio, having some way of just being informed through radio or television, of kind of what's going on, and if there are, mandatory evacuations that come up throughout the process.
Okay. Wow, you're a bevy of great tips.
Lots of information. It's important. This is really important. Like, I mean, we see it every year, and I think,
yeah. And all those things will not only help keep you safe, but just help keep you comfortable too during what can be a very uncomfortable period. So Randy Sandlin, thanks so much. We really appreciate you sharing all of your information with us. And folks, if you want to learn more, again, you can go to Generac's website to learn more about some of the different options if you're thinking of getting a generator to power you through if we do lose power the next time we get hit here. But thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And thank you so much for joining us as well. Just keep those topics and questions coming my way. We'll continue to try to answer them here on Sullivan Smart Sense, and we'll see you next time.